So I have to take the kids to school. Then I have to make sure I go grocery shopping. Then I have to clean the house, maybe pack the lunches. Then I have to talk to my client about their issues. And then I also have to then pick up the kids and make sure that they have food. And my husband needed his shirt ironed. Oh, and by the way, I probably should eat somewhere in there, but I don't really have time. Does that sound like a familiar day for you? Any of that by any chance? Well, if it does, you are not alone. Often we do not include ourselves in our own life. But today, my friend, is your lucky day because we get to talk with an amazing expert entrepreneur, Julianne Smith from Garter Girl and JulianneSmith.com, not only about entrepreneurship, but also about how she has been able to find balance and make sure to include herself in her own life, which many of us do not find the time to do. All right, let's dive into talking to Julianne.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. This is the place where you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs come to vanquish the burnout monster and boost your glow and cash flow with energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies. Since 7 figures won't get itself, hit that subscribe button and never miss out on your chance to skyrocket profits, tap into your intuition, and manifest your dreams. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
One of the fastest ways to get frustrated with your lack of revenue, your lack of time, your lack of sanity is to make commitments that work for everyone else besides yourself. I've done this before, and you end up actually putting so much in your life that there's no room for you. You cannot do that because it still remains your life. And when you do that, you end up no longer behind the driver's seat of the car of your life. So you want to make sure that you include yourself, which is why the mantra for today is pretty simple. I include me in my life. I include me in my life. Say it with me. I include me in my life. I include me in my life. When we don't include ourselves in our lives and we prioritize everything else, we're not able to really show up as our best self. And no, not only that, we're not able to reach our fullest potential or enjoy the journey. Life kind of sucks. We look up one day and we wonder who built this prison for ourselves. It should feel more like a playground rather than a prison. And if your life feels more like a prison, it could mean that you have jailed yourself with the bars of busyness, with the bars of expectation, with the bars of obligation. And you've cut yourself off from the true joys of living a full life. If that's you, don't even worry about it. The biggest thing that you can do is have that realization that you need and want to be a part of your own life, and that you don't want your life to happen around you. You don't want your business to consume your life. You don't want your kids to consume your life. You don't want your spouse to consume your life. You want to be able to make those decisions that allow you to live for your highest good. After you've had that realization and you've drawn awareness to it, make a list of 3 things that you will stop doing and 3 things that you will start doing to more fully incorporate yourself into your life. Are you going to get a nanny? Are you going to have somebody else clean your house? Are you going to get a VA? Are you going to make time in your calendar to read? Or you're going to finally join that Pilates class? Whatever it is to include yourself in your life, it could be small or it could be big, but just get started. Because the longer you remain out of your life, the longer you're going to not enjoy your life. And this is not what this whole thing's about. It's not supposed to be you struggle, then you die. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to enjoy this empire building journey so that when we do have an empire, which gives us that financial freedom, that gives us that time freedom, that emotional freedom, that mental freedom, we sit there fully enraptured by the beauty of what we have created, including having ourselves as part of our own lives. Today, we're going to have the pleasure of talking with Julianne not only about that, but her garter business, the Garter Girl, how she takes 3 months off every single year from June 1st to September 1st, and how she treats herself and her family like one of her customers so that she can actually enjoy her life and she can make sure that she is a part of it. Okay, let's dive in now to talking with Julianne Smith.
This episode is brought to you by Strategy by Flourish Marketing. Most entrepreneurs are too close to their business to clearly communicate how they add value and stand out from the competition. Sometimes they even struggle to say what they do and offer. If you're confused, then your potential clients are confused, and confusion is a profit killer. That's why Flourish Marketing uses StoryBrand as the foundation for our products and services. The StoryBrand framework helps companies understand what their customers are looking for and how to position themselves to get those customers to pay attention. If you'd like help creating clear brand messaging for your marketing collateral, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/strategy and schedule a call today. You have only confusion to lose and money to gain. Visit www.flourishmarketing.co/strategy to get started.
Hey, Julie, thank you so much for joining us on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Before we dive into the juicy questions that we have for you, why don't you tell the listeners out there who you are, what you do, and what problem you solve?
All the problems. I solve all the problems. I think sometimes I make a lot of the problems, but no. So my name is Julie, and my business is the Garter Girl, where I hand make wedding garters for brides to be. I also have a B2B side of the business, too many acronyms, where I help other small business entrepreneurs, mostly in the wedding or creative space, with their content. Whether it's like overwhelmed with too much content, not enough content, whether it comes to writing blog posts or helping them with Pinterest.
That's amazing. And that you have a background as a communication strategist, correct?
I do. I used to work in politics and
So it's not like
yeah, and media.
people are like, "So how did you go from garters to Pinterest?" I was like, "No, no, no. This is not random. Julie does this."
No, no, there's not very much overwhelm, but there also kind of is. I mean, so I used to work in media and PR, and so that's kind of how I backed my way into the content creation, marketing, PR, things like that. And the wedding garters is really just because my friend needed one for her wedding and I couldn't find one. So I ended up just making it. And I don't know, somehow I stumbled upon like the one thing in weddings that wasn't being done by anybody and still really isn't today.
Nice. I
I know
mean,
it.
that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I feel
And then you
really.
became the Garter Girl.
Then I trademarked it and here we are. But you know, I've always been like this just like rogue thing kind of niche. I always say I'm the nichiest of niches and I've always just had to kind of do it on my own. And that's really what kind of led me to a lot of the content creation, whether it was like the blogging or the Pinterest or, any of any of that.
Any of that, all of that and all of the above. Well, doing it on your own can sometimes be a bit much. I know that. I started on my own in the middle of the pandemic after being laid off and I was broke. So I get it. I get how doing things on your own might be a bit much, especially in the transition. So, can you talk about during your career, what techniques or tools you've used to avoid burnout and stay in alignment personally and professionally?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I always say I'm like late to the woo. I'm like figuring it out. I figured out the whole need for a break and the need for alignment the hard way, right? Like I just like total breakdown, just like it wasn't working. It was like, oh my gosh, I need to start carrying around like a paper bag, truly, because I was like having like panic attacks all the time. I just was so stressed all the time. And then um, one thing I started doing years ago, like plural, and every year the iteration keeps getting better and better, is I take a break from June 1st to September 1st. Um, and it's looked different every year, and I feel that I'm like learning every year, and every year it gets better and better. Um, but I've really learned to like rely on that time, really try to like use that time to refresh and recharge. It doesn't work for everybody. It works for me. It works for my family. Um, but it's funny that like in May, my friends and the people that are close with me on a day-to-day basis are always like, oh, it's May. This is where Julie gets super stressed out because we know June's coming. So yeah, it's taking.
So you get all of the garters out for wedding season. Let them roll through wedding season, then you pick back up with them in engagement season. Is that how that works? Or like, oh no, you said yeah, pretty much, right?
Well, it's funny. I always get it's like I get a mixed bag, right? So sometimes I'll get from my clients, they're like, that's amazing. You do you. Like, we'll talk in September, take your break, enjoy your break. And then from some clients, you always get, oh, it must be nice to, just like take a break in the middle of busy wedding season. And my
Oh my
response is
gosh.
always the same. It's like, first of all, I'm an e-commerce business. And so it's never not wedding season around here. And if I don't take the break, nobody will give it to me. Um, and also, I have really worked hard over the years to like, I'm not doing nothing. I have set the business up so that I can step away. And I still sell certain things, and I prepare for it. And it's, I'm not going from all the sales. How do I put this? I'm not squeezing my sales into the months that I'm quote unquote working. It's still spread out over 12 months. It's just that I don't do production for 3 months. And
That makes
that
a
for
lot of
me,
sense.
yeah, and that for me is where I have really tried to pay attention. Like, what do my customers need? What's the big thing going on in the summer that I can try to account for ahead of time so that I can take a break. And I always come back like in September, like psyched. Like I'm like, let's go, let's do this. I miss my business. I miss sewing. I've had it. I've had it with staring at the computer screen. I've had it with just like writing blog posts and, getting things done. I'm like ready to get back to production.
That's amazing, and I think that a lot of people are scared to do that because they are like, "Well, that means I'm gonna be broke for 3 months." It's like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That's not what Julie said now. Go back and listen. If you need to rewind, go and rewind." What
Yeah.
Julie said was she set up her business so that it goes across 12 months. Like, you're still making money for 12
Yeah.
months. So I think a lot of people, especially newbie entrepreneurs, are like, well, I only want to work 3 days a week, 9 months of the year. That's great, but that doesn't just like happen. All of us would love if we had the magic wand that did that, but once you set it up, it can roll like that. How long did it take you to set that up, to create that for yourself?
Well, it was really, like I said, from the start, but also it's had every year it gets better and more fine-tuned. Like, so my parents live at the beach in New Jersey and I live in Washington DC. And so I would go and live with them in the summer, right? And that it was like this natural break. And so for the first couple years I would like, again, so my mom's a seamstress, right? She's got the sewing machine, she's got all the things. And so I would bring all my stuff and take it up there, and it's no no big deal. And I bring all my packaging and I just was like under this like fake illusion that I was, home, but I wasn't. And then it was like, this is not working. Right. And then the next summer I was like, okay, let me try something a little bit different. Let me try something a little bit different. And so it's to the point now where um, I sell out like the inventory. So a lot of times, like I'll make a custom order and like I mess it up or it doesn't work or it's the wrong color, or I do a lot of stuff for photo shoots, or I'll make some stuff as I'm messing around with different styles. And I just always have like tons of inventory. And so that's what I end up just selling out in the summertime.
That's super smart. I love that.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And then this summer was the first summer where I took pre-orders so that I came back to new business, not new, new work in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, that makes a
So
lot of
it
sense.
was just like a lot of, it checks like a lot of boxes. Like there's some people that can't afford me. And so I've had people tell me like, oh, I'm waiting for, I call it like my annual sale. And they're like, I've heard about your annual sale. I'm waiting for that. I'm like, great, you know, and
Annual sale is over the summer where you're selling some of the things that
yeah, like sample. I call them like
samples.
samples.
Mhm.
And some of it I pre-make ahead of time but this year was nuts. I didn't have any time to pre-make anything. So that's why I was like, "Oh, let me just try the pre-sale and see how it works." So it was like so I have like two types of clients. I have the ones that are like, yeah, wedding is tomorrow. And then I have the clients that are like, the wedding is in 2050. And I would, and so I have to kind of service both clients. And so it's like I have something a little bit for everybody and then a little something for me in between, right? Like I'm servicing those last minute people and then I'm servicing the future clients.
That is, I don't know whether you meant to speak to my heart when you just said that you said I have a little something for everybody and a little something for me in between. A lot of the times we're like, let me give you all, let me give it to you, especially me. That's how I operate. And then I'm like, oh wait, I forgot me. And I love how just literally in the way that you do production or in the way that you're planning after your break, you have carved out to make sure that you still have that little something for you too. That's awesome. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
can
I
learn
think
from that.
yeah. Well, I mean, I get you. I've listened to many of your episodes and I've heard you speak many times and I'm here for the woo and all of it because and I've learned that like I said a lot of this stuff the hard way because I have tried to like make commitments that worked for everybody but me. No problem. I'll get that to you, tomorrow. No problem, no problem. And I really have learned over the years to like treat myself and my family like one of my customers. And it's really I think sometimes in business we set something up and we think that's how it has to be. And I've worked really hard to like keep reevaluating, keep improving, keep getting better and or keep adjusting. And that's like what we talk about this like summer sabbatical or whatever you want to call it in the summer that I do. And it's like every summer I'm tweaking it, I'm learning, I'm getting better. And the same with like a lot of my processes. So like I'm a custom business, a lot of what I do is like handmade, but we're also living in this like Amazon world where everyone needs it right now. And, people don't expect to pay for shipping. And, it's the consumer right now is used to getting what they want immediately with free shipping. And when you're talking about like the majority of what I do is I work with a lot of brides in their mother's wedding dress and I take it apart and we make a wedding garter out of it.
That's beautiful.
Yes,
Very
it's
heartwarming.
yeah, it's a super special. There's always a lot of tears, usually by me. It's very special and sentimental, and I really, connect a lot with my clients. But that's not something that you can just like stuff in a Amazon Prime box and send it on its way. However, that's what the consumer today expects with all the things. And so it's really been about like setting up my businesses, setting up my communication process with my customer. This is how it works. This is what to expect. This is where we're at. This is the time frame. It's just that like over communication so that everyone's expectations are being met, even mine. I say it when you just order something from me, it will take, let's just say it's not a custom, right? It can take anywhere from 14 days to, if it's pre-made, it can take like 4 days, right? But I built in time for like life. A lot of times it happens, I'll get that in the box in less than 24 hours. But like there's sometimes where I need those 4 days, or sometimes I need those 14 days. It doesn't happen often, but like when I need it, I take it. And
Yeah.
same with the custom. I'm always like, this is going to take me a month, but sometimes when it takes 2 weeks, that's,
That's
that
great.
all the
Then you
better.
get a happy customer on your hand. Like, oh my gosh, she got it to me early.
Yeah, I always over kind of,
So much better that than like,
yeah.
oh, it's late.
No, I overdo it on the communication and I overdo it on the time that I think that it's going to take, because I mean life happens, right? Like, you go to sit down to do one thing and next thing you know, you're like getting crickets out of the dishwasher and it takes you 45 minutes to like load the dishwasher.
I'm sorry, you're getting what out of the dishwasher?
No, but we've all like had a random cricket and you're trying to cover it up and you're like, I
I
just
actually have
wanted,
had a random cricket, but not it didn't
thank
make it to the
you.
dishwasher, but was the same color as the carpet. And I was walking by Jiminy on my way to the kitchen, and all of a sudden it hopped over my foot. I didn't
There it
think
went.
I don't think I moved that fast ever in my life until that moment, or jumped quite that high.
Yeah.
And I let out a screech. My husband's like, "What's up? What's up?" And I said, "It's a something."
Yeah. It's moving.
And
But
yeah, that
things
was about
always just
45
take,
minutes. Yep.
yeah. I mean, today I went on and it's like, oh, your email thing is expiring. You got to pay for the email. And I'm like, an hour and a half later, I'm like, well, this wasn't in the plan today.
Yes. Yeah, this
But
wasn't
you,
one of the 3 goals I set for my day today.
no, sure wasn't. And it's really hard when you're in the moment to be like, whoa, whoa, stop, wasn't on the to-do list. And, you know, but then you times that over like a whole day. And the next thing you know, there went the day. And so that's why I really am like obsessive about building in lots of time. And it's it's not like a hack or a trick, but like really like my customers do like love me when I say it's going to take a month and it takes 2 weeks, or I say it's going to take, you know, 14 days and they get it in 3. Like it all works out for everybody, including me.
Including you. I am going to start adopting the Julie way of speaking, the Julie speech pattern. I don't know whether you notice you do this, but I think it's brilliant. You'll say something and you'll say, even for me, including me and my family and my children. And I don't do that. I'm like, yes, there's my client and there's my business and there's all of these other things. And I'm going to build all of the things in my life without me in it. It's very easy to build your life without you in it. And in the way that you speak, I adore it. I'm going to be using it from now on. You say, I set up expectations, including for myself. I have clear communication, including with myself.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes as business owners, we need that reminder. And I love that it's so ingrained in you. It comes out in the way that you speak, the way that you have your 3 months off, the way that you talk about, the way you set things up, the way that you build things in. You've prioritized your life. And that's everybody. If you were wondering what it looks like when you prioritize your life, it sounds like Julie.
Well, listen, this has not come from, I mean, I'm 43 years old. Like it's funny, like my friends that know me, they're like, that Gary, who Gary Vee is, right? He's like
Yeah.
all
Oh,
about the
yeah.
hustle. They're
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh, like finally, it's like because I'm known the known hustler, right? Like my people who work for me on, or no, who know me like on the business side, they're like, we didn't even know you had kids. You're constantly working. Like, you don't mom so hard. You never take the like,
Mom, so hard.
like, they're like, you never take the, oh, I gotta, do this personal thing, or you just, and same like on the personal, they're like, most people like don't even know that I have a business, that know me like on the mom side. And
How do you do that, Julie?
so I do it, but it
How did
all
you do?
comes
Are you a
from,
magician? Or are you
making those
actually Harry
mistakes.
Potter? It's cool, you can tell us.
No, no, it just, like you were saying, like, oh, you say things so that you include yourself, but it comes from years of like hustling so hard, to the point where I had to like carry a paper bag around because I was spread so thin. And like, that's how I found my way to yoga. Because I was like, you would go for a run, or you do like, and it got to the point where like, I was like, oh my God, the running's not even working.
Oh my.
It's not even, and I have over promised and over committed, and I have made those mistakes. And I'm like a consummate learner. Like, I love learning. And so I'm like, how can we do this better? How can we learn from this? That did not work. Like, let's just get rid of the judgment and figure out how to make it better. And because history does, repeat itself, right? Like, this situation is going to come up again. And I've learned the hard way. I've stayed up all night. I've done all the things. And I guess maybe I'm just like too old for that.
I'm too old for that. I'm too old for these silly games that you playing with me, self. I think
Yeah.
I'm starting to have more of those conversations with myself as well. Like, I'm too old for this. You look around, you're like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I should have probably not done it for the past 5 years.
I just struggle with like disappointment, and then like disappointing like my clients, or disappointing my family. And also, to your point, it's like disappointing myself. Like, when I make a mistake, or I mess up, or I do something, I get really disappointed in myself. And I'm like, how can we avoid this disappointment in the future? Because that was not fun. And that's where a lot of this like over, what is it? Over promising, under promising,
No, overpromise.
over,
No.
what is
Oh, I'm
it?
missing it too.
Over delivering. It's
I
something
know
about,
under promising and over delivering. There we go.
yes, right. So promising that I will get it to you in 14 days, but really I get it to you in like 3. It's
Right.
a lot of that stuff. Or like, just always trying to like account for every sort of variable. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but like, one of the things that I always try to do is like, if I do something new in my business, or I'm like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this thing or try this thing, I always like plan out my exit strategy when it's, just because I know that it probably won't work. So I'm like, what's my deadline, and how am I going to like get out of this?
That's super smart because a lot of people are just they're like, "Well, brace yourself and hold on. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. We don't know when the ride's gonna end. Somebody might lose a limb, but we're gonna keep on going." Like, I
Well,
love
people
that you
always think
have
it's forever. It's like,
right.
I have to do this thing forever. Like, I have to, if you like, I don't know, I'm just going to use this. Like, you sign up for an Instagram Reels course, then you have to make Reels forever. It's like, if you make a
Gosh,
couple
I
and
hope
it
you don't
wasn't
have to
that
make reels
fun.
forever.
No, I'm just using that as an example, but it's like, it's this like, it has to be that way, and we can never change. But that's the cool part about being a business owner. You get to change, and you get to decide, and you get to say, it's not working for me right now.
Well, and you've done a lot of that where you said, "Well, nope, not gonna do that anymore." You're like, "I'm in my 40s. My glow up has officially happened, and we're not gonna do a lot of those things anymore." But you didn't know this in the very beginning. You didn't have all of these answers. So now that you are here in all of your wisdom, what would be the one piece of advice you would give your past self who existed about a year after starting your business?
I was thinking about this one, and it's probably that like, it all doesn't matter so much.
That's super good.
There were so for about 6 years I was running Garter Girl, and had a blog for weddings in Washington, D.C. And I used to get like so worked up about competitor blogs, and I just would take it all so personally. And like, I've since sold the blog. It doesn't even matter. I don't, it's just not a thing. And it really wasn't. But at the time, it feels so important and it feels so big. And there's just been a lot of like you talk about like Instagram, like it feels so big, and I get all sometimes worked up about it. I don't have enough followers, I don't have enough engagement, and like it just doesn't matter that much. And someone told me a long long time ago, and I really try to like come back to this a lot, is like always focus on your product. Like make that the best it can be, and everything else will kind of take care of itself. And when I talk about like my product, I talk about like my clients and communicating with them, and making the best product I can be, and everything else will just kind of, it will all work out, right?
That's so true, and knowing that now, I think I would give myself similar advice. I'd also tell myself not to do all the things and to sit down and try one thing at a time, because I like to be a Jane of all trades, and I'm like, I'm a master of all of them plus one. I would tell myself to sit down somewhere, and I would also be like, you know what, girl, it's okay if you can go on the journey and have it be a journey that you enjoy rather than something where it constantly feels like you're striving and struggling without
Yeah.
having to actually like, it's unnecessary. It's really just
Yeah,
all.
but I wouldn't, being a Jane of all trades, it's like it's shiny object syndrome, but it's shiny because it's shiny. And there's a reason, it's normal to and I think too, like there's a lot of pressure when new things come up, new platforms, new features on platforms, and new ideas or new ways of doing things. It's like these things are coming at us at such a rapid clip, and there's this pressure like, oh my god, if I don't do these things like on Pinterest, or yeah, on Pinterest now there's like idea pins, and if I don't do these things, then I'm going to miss out, I'm going to miss the boat. Everyone remembers when they kind of maybe didn't take Instagram as seriously and they kind of missed the boat, right? And now it's all about the algorithm, and I just, yeah, it's like shiny object syndrome is, it's like if we had a crystal ball to be able to say, well, maybe that thing doesn't matter as much, or it won't matter a year from now, 6 months from now, but you don't know. And so you're trying to like do it all. And that's what we were talking about earlier, is like, that's where I always get back to like, what's my goal here? Like when I get all shiny object, I'm like, what's the goal here? What am I doing? What am I trying to do? And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to just like sew my wedding garters and like keep my clients happy and keep my family happy. Right. Okay. Let's do that.
Let's do that. And that, Julie, is a beautiful segue. Thank you very much, ma'am, into our journal prompt question. So, the journal prompt
Ooh.
question is the question that the listeners out there, you can go ahead and answer in your own journal. And it would be great to have that lovely journaling time after an episode like this, because Julie's thrown out a lot of things that could totally be game and life changing, but you can't necessarily just go off and do it. You probably need to process some of this information, including how you're going to take 3 months off. I know that was what went through my brain. It's like, how am I going to be like Julie, take 3 months off? How am I going to also be like Julie and say things like, yes, this is great for my clients and this and that, including me? I'm going to change my entire vernacular here based on this interview. But
Well, you're done. We should just end it now. Let's
we're done.
go.
I'm done. I've gotten all of the information I need from you. No, 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 no. I have one final question for you, and that is the journal prompt
Yes.
question. So
Oh,
are you
yes. No,
ready,
we don't.
Julie? You're ready for your journal prompt question?
Yes. I'm ready for my and you should know I am a journaler. I have embraced the journaling. My handwriting is horrendous, but I've done it. I've been doing it. It's been a couple years now.
Nice. Nice. So this was like right up your alley. So
Yes.
just pretend, like, get in the place where you're with your journal, and this is, you have your pen, and you're about to write the answer to the question. How can you let your top 3 goals guide your actions today? That is the journal prompt question. How can you let your top 3 goals guide your actions today?
It's like something I'm always asking myself, especially when I get all worked up. And I do at the beginning of the day, I set 3 different goals for myself. They're usually personal, like, you know, drink 3 things of water and things, or get, make some time to exercise and things like that. And so I do the goals every day. But also for me, it comes back to like, what are my larger goals? And I think, sometimes at the beginning of the year, we set goals, but we never look at them very often. Or to your point, you're jumping into a new platform, you're jumping into a new thing, you're trying to be the Jane of everything. And I really have found success in, like, before I get into something, deciding what the goals are going to be. And that way I can refer back to them, especially if I get worked up or whatever. I think it's just so important to continually be looking back at your goals so that you can make sure that your day, your week, your month contributes to those goals. Because at some point you had a clear mind to define them, right? But in the day to day, it can be really tough to, like, oh, wait a minute, like, I'm going crazy and the crickets are everywhere, and, like, I'm late on this project and I'm doing this and I'm also supposed to be doing Instagram, and oh, by the way, how do I make sure this all, like, contributes to my goal? Like, what? That's not the time, right? So it's like, during the journaling or during whatever your time is, to really, like, look back and try to make sure that what you're doing is contributing to whatever goals you've set for yourself. I don't know, too woo.
Julie, have you met me? It does
Yes,
not
and
get
that's why
too
I
woo.
like it. I'm with you. I'm here for it all.
Yes,
Um,
no, I think that's brilliant, and actually it's woo, but not all at the same time. It's really about productivity and being able to make the best use of your time. It goes back to one of my favorite books of all time, is The One Thing by Gary Keller. What is the one thing that you can do this week, this month, this year to make everything else easier or unnecessary? So
yeah.
when you think about your 3 goals, for me, I have my one thing time every day. What is the thing that I can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Yes, I could answer these 20 new emails that I've gotten in the past 5 minutes, or I could hire a personal assistant so that all emails are answered all day, every day. And instead of taking this hour to answer the emails, I spend the hour to hire a personal assistant. And then emails are now answered for all days, right? That is
Yes.
actually the most important thing that I can do to get to my goal. So I think that it's woo because it protects your energy, and it also helps you from not depleting your willpower chakra, and being able to have your energy clean, and fulfill your karmic agreements, all of those lovely things. And it also helps you get shit done on a regular basis. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. I mean, I come back to this one a lot, like when I'm getting, like, worked up about, like, Instagram or whatever. I don't know, it's not right, but I'm just like, back it up. What's the goal? And I've really, like, the goal is, like, I've got my 3 very clear goals, and as long as I've, like, done that, I'm like, shut the app down, I'm done. Like, I don't even care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many likes I get. It doesn't matter how much engagement or any of that kind of stuff. It's because that's not my 3 goals. Never once used the word engagement. My 3 goals never use the word, like, followers. And I think sometimes we talk about, especially in this, like, woo space, like, comparison and all that kind of stuff, but it's like making sure that you're comparing to the right thing. And for me, sometimes I compare myself to, like, Instagram influencers, right? And I'm like, well, that's where they make money. Of course they're, on it all day, every day. I'm like, you don't make money doing that. You make money selling your wedding garters, helping other small businesses, right? And so, again, it's like, what's the goal here? It's like, oh, it's to sell more wedding garters. Okay. Or, oh, it's to help more businesses with their Pinterest. And so I see a lot of this when it comes to the blogging, like, business owners such as yourself that are, like, service providers, or they sell a product like me, they get all worked up about the blog. And I'm like, but you're not a blogger. That's not who you are. So let's compare you apples to apples as opposed to apples and oranges. I just went off on a tangent there.
I
Sorry.
love that. No, it makes a lot of sense. I think that, comparison is the thief of joy, and being
True.
able to stay in your lane and have the comparison between your today's self and your yesterday's self, and giving grace to both of those selves is an amazing way to live. Well,
Yeah.
Julie, you've given us a lot of great information. Thank you for joining us. Please let everyone listening know where they can find you.
Yes, thank you. So you can go to my website, which is thegartergirl.com, or my B2B site, which is juliannesmith.com, which is my name. So yeah, you can check me out online. I would love to, connect with you. And also, I'm going to need the name of this personal assistant who handles your inbox, because this sounds like a dream. And do they
Yeah.
also do laundry? And do they also?
No, because it's a virtual personal assistant, but I actually did toy with that on whether I should get a house assistant or not. But I think that my husband and I are probably going to get a house assistant when we start having babies.
Yes.
Because yeah, no, I am, you're like my life, including the me in my life, needs to run smoothly. And I just have admitted to myself that I am not able to do that by myself with everything going on. So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I need your inbox assistant.
Absolutely. I can do that for you. All right. Thanks so much, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Copywriting by Flourish Marketing. Do you experience peaks and valleys in your revenue? That's a stressful way to build a business, and it makes scaling impossible. One day, you're buying a new Louis bag, and the next, you're rubbing together your coins to dive into the racks at Ross. You don't have to struggle with financial feast and famine. A strong email marketing funnel provides you with a captive audience that's eager to buy your products and services. At Flourish Marketing, we use the StoryBrand SB7 framework to create lead-generating PDFs, quizzes, ad copy, email sales sequences, website wireframes, and weekly content to attract, convert, and close more clients. If you're ready to start generating more revenue on autopilot, visit www.flourishmarketing.co and schedule a call today. A strong email list means that you'll have more headspace to focus on your zone of genius instead of stressing about bills and making payroll. Jump on the No Stress Express at www.flourishmarketing.co.
Wow. If we could all walk and talk like Julianne Smith, even just a little bit, we would be much further off in life. I know I sure would. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I sure would. If I could end sentences with the words, including me, I might actually find that I have more time for myself, which is a goal of mine for sure. That's definitely on my to-do list. And it's a to-do list that I'm actually moving progressively towards, right? So some of the other things that Julianne talked about include being able to take time off, but allow yourself to get paid while you are off. Are you setting up those structures in your business? I am, and I will tell you that it's amazing whether you use it to go and take a sabbatical, or you just use it to work on other areas of your business, or even start a new business. Getting that type of space as an entrepreneur is huge. Most people, when we start our businesses, we don't even think that space is possible. And here you are hearing Julianne Smith tell you that she takes 3 months off every year, but makes money for 12. So continue to have that experience of building and growing, but with that space that you got into this whole thing for in the first place. Always remember to be flexible, keep adjusting, and build time in for life to happen because, of course, as we know, life happens. Thank you for joining Julianne and me, Alea Harris, your host of the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast, for this episode. Be sure to download our recalibration guide, www.flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate, to get even more recalibration techniques so you can infuse more of your wonderfulness into your wonderful life. Until next week, again, I'm Alea, and I wish you lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Dive into the show notes at www.flourishmarketing.co/podcast and connect with Alea at Flourishing Entrepreneur on Instagram. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. From the entire Flourish Marketing team, we wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.